Hello, Reese from the Point Music Podcast thingy. Brand new podcast episode coming your way. We actually have Luke from Forever Ends here, Sydney pop punk band that have been around for a while. They had a little break for about, well, not really a little break. They had a 5-year hiatus, but now they're back. New single Cherry Chapstick, and they've got a tour, Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. So this is what the talk's about. We chat with Luke and then talk about musical theatre, because musical theatre is cool. It is, trust me. I hope you really enjoy this one. Do check out Cherry Chapstick though; it's actually a dope song. Particularly if you like sort of like your pop punky sort of stuff. Fun interview. Big shout out to Luke. And yeah, here we go, ladies and gentlemen, people all sorts. Luke from Forever Ends here. We are rolling. Hello, Luke for Forever Ends here. Firstly.
Hello.
I have to say congrats on Cherry Chapstick, even though it's been out for about a month. Is that right?
Yeah, thereabouts.
Thereabouts,
Yeah,
and that.
yeah, probably almost to the dot, I think, to the day.
Now this is a return to form for you guys because you've been away for like 5 years, and you can't blame COVID for this shit because you actually were in hiatus before that.
No, we were pre. Yeah.
You were set the trends before it was cool. So
I can blame COVID for what happened to the band in between. We wanted to keep the momentum rolling, and we started a new band, and then COVID fucked that one for us. But,
well, let's get into that a little bit later. But I want to talk about
absolutely.
Cherry Chapstick and why you guys decided to come back. And as I was mentioning to you before we started rolling, that I actually hadn't done my deep dive like I normally do. So I'm gonna go in dry. So I hope, yeah.
Well, that's what Green Room Chat's about, right? It's getting to know each other.
Yeah, but
Awesome. Yeah,
I did
Cherry
Chapstick. Now I listen to your discography, and I do a lot of this sort of stuff at the gym because I can actually sort of like isolate people and just focus on the music while I'm working out. And first EP you guys did. So pop punky, and there's a lot of energy there, and it feels like Cherry Chapstick is actually more reminiscent of that than what it is of Imagine This, which was the full length album. So was there a reason for this?
Yeah, it was very intentional. It was an interesting scene back when we were, I guess, doing the band the first time. We started off as a pop punk band, and that's what we grew up listening to. That's where all of our influence came from, and then it just so happened that we sort of fell into this slot of the scene where the fan base actually crossed over to pop. So we grew up in a scene around the same time as bands like 5 Seconds of Summer, and we're playing with bands like them and Short Stack, and it was this dynamic where we were almost always the heaviest band on the lineup. We were the pop punk band,
right?
As the scene sort of progressed and we saw bands taking off and going overseas. We'd saved up and we did Imagine This. We did that album, and when we got into the studio, every song on there was written as a pop punk song, and we got into the studio and sat down for pre-pro with Stevie Knight and Dave Petrovic, who worked on the record. And the advice that we sort of got from them and a few industry people at the time was there's a gap in the market for pop now, and that a lot of the bands that were succeeding with pop had taken off overseas, and they were like, you're in this position where you've already captured a fan base who like that, and they just sort of felt like the trajectory for us was maybe we could take it a little further. So I mean, in simple terms, we sold out essentially, and if we could go back and do anything differently, I think we would have done that album a little more true to its form and how we wrote it. And there's some parts of Imagine This that I love. Don't get me wrong. There's songs on there that we're absolutely playing on the tour and we're so stoked about, and I listen back and I'm really proud of them. But when we announced the reunion, we just sort of wanted it to be clear that to us, it was about nostalgia, and it was about reforming, and I guess post-pandemic as well, this idea that we could sort of restore the scene to where it was and get that kick for ourselves and everyone who used to come to our shows. And it felt right to take that back to the pop punk roots and go right back as opposed to just a little bit.
I think it was a pretty wise choice, to be honest with you. Like, I wasn't going to mention the selling out kind of thing. I mean, that's completely an artistic choice, right? But being in multiple bands myself, and being in situations where you've had outside opinions on as to what you should be releasing, how you should be sounding, I do understand where you would have been situated there. And I do get the short stack thing too. But then you listen to what they've just released with Shotgun Wedding, and then they've come out.
Oh yeah, they're going back to the pop punk roots as well, right?
Very much so,
Yeah,
man. Like, I wasn't a short stack fan at all, to be honest with you. I actually
right.
wasn't into them. But like,
Yeah,
man, I'm in my 40s, so like my pop punk was
yeah,
Green Day and Blink, and that was sort of
right.
and
Exactly. That's what
beginning
you
of
started.
Simple
Yeah,
Plan and that sort of stuff, right? But um,
yeah,
but when I was listening to Imagine This, because I did actually listen to that album first before I went into the EP,
yeah,
and because I had heard Cherry Chapstick before, because I put it on the playlist like when it first came out,
yeah.
and when I was listening I was just going, "Ooh, this is
You're
really
like, this is different.
no."
Yeah,
It's just I could tell the pop,
yeah.
and it was so produced. There's just so much production in it, and even was it what's the song that you did with the feature artist, which is like 1.7
Uh,
million.
Remember December,
Yeah,
the piano with
yeah.
Michaela.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that's a completely like a left turn from what you guys are established. So it was
yeah. That was part of an extension we did to that album. We called it the acoustic expansion pack,
yeah.
and we sort of had a couple of acoustic tracks on there. That again, it was tapping into the fan base we had at the time. We'd done a tour with a band called In Stereo, who are, funnily enough, still great friends of ours, but they were a boy band from X Factor,
All
and
right.
we. So when we got the opportunity to tour with them, we were like, well, this is, it was a weird combination, but we were like, hey, what an opportunity to tap into a new fan base. And that was sort of where that came from, and that we had all these new fans at the time that
Mm.
were, their scene was people like Troye Sivan, and it was the YouTube scene essentially.
Okay, with you.
Um,
Yep.
and so back then, yeah, doing a piano ballad and tapping into that sort of, it made sense at the time. But yeah, it's very different to where we started and what we've gone back to for sure.
So what ignited the fire to go back and with Cherry Chapstick record something like that? Like really, what was the real thoughts behind it? What tell me the thought
It
process.
was it was a combination of a few things. We sort of knew that, I think we always had in the back of our mind that we would come back for maybe a one-off reunion show, and we'd spoken about doing a 10-year anniversary tour of From Where I'd Rather Be, and whether that was going to be a tour or a couple of pub shows or what it was. We knew that first EP, it was actually our second EP, but the first one isn't on Spotify because it's terrible. But we
Remix
knew
it.
that was sort of the best moment. Maybe we will. I don't know. I think it needs some rewriting as well. But no, we knew that was a special EP, and we wanted to come back and celebrate that for 10 years. That's coming up at the end of this year, is actually the 10-year anniversary of
Yeah.
that. But I think the more we spoke about that, the more we just got excited about the idea of being back. It almost felt like unfinished business in a way. We'd gone away, and it felt like we hadn't ticked things off on our bucket list, and we just had that itch to be back doing it. There's nothing quite like the feeling of just sort of dragging some amps on stage and playing some good old pop punk. And
Yep.
I think we needed the time away from it. When you're doing that over and over and over, pop punk has that stigma too, right? Where people are like, oh, you're too old to be doing that. And I think we were so impressionable. And in hindsight, we were so young at the time,
Mm.
absolutely not too old to be doing it. But we were so impressionable. And that, if we got industry advice at the time, we're like, yeah, we should take this, we should do this. And so I think that just led to us sort of needing a bit of a break from it. And on that break, we explored other creative ideas and sort of released some pop songs under a different artist name. And I think that sort of scratched that itch. And now that we've got the two avenues, and I've got the other band that we can do the pop stuff with, it means that Forever Ends Here
Can go back
reuniting
to
can just its organic self.
yeah.
That's what Forever Ends Here was always meant to be. And in hindsight, it's our best work is when we're playing in that genre.
Yep.
I truly think it's what we're best at, and it's what we enjoy most. It's so much fun live. And yeah, we just thought, if we're going to do this reunion, let's do it right. So yeah, I think what kicked it off was just missing it. It was
Mm.
looking back. We got to the point where we were like, we'd go over to each other's houses and we'd watch old YouTube videos of us playing. We were like, oh, hey, that's pretty cool. Like we did that. We could do that again.
Nothing kickstart shit like nostalgia, hey.
Absolutely. And particularly post pandemic as well. I think it was so much changed in everyone's lives. And
Mm.
yeah, we were missing that spark. And it just felt like a little piece that we could contribute to people to sort of, yeah, give other people some nostalgia. And, it's as much for us as it is for the people who were at the shows back then who are having that nostalgia kick with us. But in general, it just sort of felt like the right time to do a reunion.
So like these shows that are coming up, because it's this weekend. Yeah, actually, like Friday is your first show.
Yeah, this Friday in Sydney, Saturday night in Melbourne, and then next weekend in Brisbane.
Yeah. So these are your actually first shows. You haven't done any live stuff. This is the first time back
Not
in
with
5 years.
Forever Ends here. No.
Wow.
No. Yeah. January. Yeah. So it was January 19, 2018 was the last Forever Ends Here show. We played at the Factory Theatre in Sydney.
Yep.
Which was a very special night. And we, at the time, had you have asked us that night, will you do this again? We probably would have said no. This was a special show. Let's end it at this. This is exactly what it needed to be. But yeah, 5 years later, it's been funny getting in a prac room and seeing if we can still play our songs. And
yeah,
some of them,
that kind of stuff, which should just be like clockwork, really, shouldn't it?
It was a bit of both. The old songs that we'd just been playing for years on end, it was like we played it the first time. We're like, yeah, cool, we know how to do that. That's fine.
Yeah.
It was we've sort of reworked a few as well. We've restructured some of the live arrangements to make it work with our sound and where we want to sit now. So that took some time, and we wanted to come back, I guess, in a way that showed people that we were taking it seriously as well. So rather than just going, let's have a few rehearsals and treat it like a shitty little pop punk comeback show, we thought, let's make it special. Let's put the time into making ourselves sound good. Like let's produce the whole set how it needs to, put some budget into a lighting display and make it feel like a big momentous special occasion for us. And I think that's exactly what we're hopefully pulling off this Friday. But yeah, it's been a lot of work going into it. It's exciting.
But yeah, I could sense a little bit of nerves in there, like underline that, and I fucking know that feeling. Like,
yeah. No, I thought I would be more nervous for it. I sort of do a lot of the self-management stuff with the band as well. So I usually the first week of a tour, particularly after 5 years, there's just so much shit to organize that you don't have to focus on the nerves of the show itself, right? It's all the distractions. But we're surprisingly prepared. So it's just left me, usually there's the distractions from the nerves, but at the moment it's just thinking about the show. What's it going to be like?
So
excitement.
So is Cherry Chapstick like a toast, pardon the pun, because of the lyrics on there.
Yeah.
Of more stuff. Have you got more stuff in the bag for this?
We were planning on having more songs recorded pre-tour. What we hadn't anticipated was how much of our time would go into tour preparation. We all work full-time jobs outside of music as well, and so you know what that's like, right? And just trying to juggle music on the side of making a living. So it hasn't left us a whole lot of time to get more songs ready. I think what realistically will end up happening is we'll do this tour. We'll take a bit of time for the rest of the year to go away and write and record an EP maybe. That's what we're hoping for. There's definitely songs in the works. They're just not in the full production phase yet. And then come back next year, guns blazing, with more new music and more shows.
Well, fucking do it. Given the response you've been getting for Cherry Chapstick too, I mean, there is, and like even the resurgence and revival of pop punk. I mean, it was more so like last year, leading into this year, thanks to TikTok doing its magical shit. Well, there was a resurgence of it. Like even my kids, yeah. Like,
it's so funny watching all the younger kids all over Simple Plan now on TikTok. When I'm just a kid, did that TikTok resurgence. Everyone's like, "Oh, that's the TikTok song." I'm like, "That's this what?" I'm like, "That's my childhood song. TikTok didn't exist back then."
Oh, welcome to being old, man. Like,
I know, right? I'm 26. I'm definitely not old, but it's making me feel old. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, I was finishing high school when you were like being born, bro. So put that into perspective.
That's the fun thing about music, though, right? Age doesn't matter in music.
It doesn't mean shit. Actually, I disagree with that one. In the Australian music industry, it's heavily ageist, mate. It's
okay.
Yeah.
Right.
You've got youth on your side. You're fine. I'm sounding like this old dude, but yeah. As Mark Hoppus once said, nobody likes you when you're 23. Or was it? Sorry, it was Tom. Was it Tom? Nobody likes you in 2020. Um,
No, it's Mark.
it was
It was
Mark.
Mark.
Yep. Well, no one really likes you if you're over the age of like 35. In America, it's fine, man. Like in America, you can be playing
Yeah,
to
yeah,
like your
yeah, for
60s
sure.
and no one gives a shit.
Oh, yeah, there's artists in America that are taking off when they're like 40.
Yep.
It's, their first big single and they're, yeah.
There is rare occasions in Australia where that actually happens, but if you dig deep, I mean, okay, so you look at Amy Shark as an example. I mean, Amy's in her 30s,
Right.
and she didn't
Yeah.
actually get a hit until she was in her 30s with Adore
30s,
You,
yeah.
and she'd
I
been
mean,
plugging
she's
away for
massive now.
yeah, yeah, man. I remember seeing her at the Queensland Music Awards,
Yeah.
pre before she broke, and
Yeah.
she'd been nominated for an award there, and she was humble as shit, just this little artist out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden Adore You
Yeah.
comes out, and boom,
Yeah.
there
And then
is.
everyone in the media goes, wow, overnight success. Look at this.
No, she'd been
It's-
plugging away in pub corners for fucking years.
Yeah.
That's what
That's
happens,
how it
and a
goes.
lot of people don't realize that. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Pays
all
to
right,
stick with.
let's talk about this tour though, because you're teaming up with two other artists. I know Bellhaven. Bellhaven
Yeah.
I've actually reviewed, and fucking love Bellhaven.
Yeah. They're very cool.
Yeah.
We didn't know Bellhaven personally before the tour. They're also a Destroyer Lines artist, and it's Destroyer Lines putting on this tour, so they pitched them for it. And one thing that we wanted from this was the idea of having a mixed bill where not every band sounds the same.
Good idea.
And I think we've struck a really nice balance, particularly with Bellhaven on the lineup. Obviously, they're a little heavier than what we are, but I don't know how much of their new stuff you've heard, but it's fucking dope, and they've got some really really cool. It's almost like verging the gap between pop rock, pop punk, and melodic hardcore. It's giving Hellions Green Day influence,
Oh, okay.
which I love.
Yeah.
It's really really cool. So, yeah, I'm really excited to have those guys on the run with us for sure.
There's a lot of actually sort of I actually had a few pop punk bands that get sent through to me in the last week where they've actually merging into metalcore in some parts now, which is interesting.
Well, Those Who Dream, the other artist on the lineup, I don't know if you've heard their latest single, Apology. But I mean, they're more of I think you'd probably call them alt rock,
Yep.
would be the technical term of the genre. But their latest single has a full breakdown with screams in it, and that was the first time they've ever done that. But it's cool. I like it. I think people are a lot more open-minded to mixing genres these days, and
yeah,
boundaries are breaking a bit.
I think like metal isn't as much of a dirty word as what it used to be,
Right.
and it's so far like expanding. I mean, like you talk to dads and they know who Slipknot are. So basically,
right, exactly.
But Slipknot to me is not heavy, right? I've listened to some
it's
heavy shit.
yeah. Slipknot verging to being a rock band, right?
Yeah. Well, so's Korn, all that sort of stuff that. Back in my day when I was a young lad, like we deemed to be like heavy sort of stuff, and even Sepultura and that it's not. It's bordering alt rock now, which
yeah. I think and I'd be interested to hear your take on this as well. But I think Bring Me the Horizon have had a lot to do with that expanding.
Without a doubt. But I would actually expand that on Linkin Park, to be honest with you, because basically Bring Me the Horizon is based their stuff on Linkin's
the new metal influence from Linkin Park, and absolutely,
because how pop they went, and that last album they did before Chester passed away, that was extremely poppy. Bring Me the Horizon walk that fine line because they still have that sort of like element of heaviness to it, but like semi-paternal, and that's the spirit, and that album there is probably my go-to. I like Ammo as well, but I was never massive Bring Me. Yeah, it's the one that sort of like bridges the gap. There's the heavy elements there, but you can sense the popness coming into it. Yeah.
There's some pop sensibility to it, right? It's still catchy. It's not heavy for the sake of being heavy. It's sort of it's this perfect balance. I just think it's a flawless record.
That's a pretty big call.
Big call.
Big call.
I don't know. I just think it holds up. I was having a chat with some mates recently, and we were trying to come up with a playlist of sort of 10 songs that are the defining moments of our life.
Mm-hmm.
And
So like a
I
desert
definitely
island
put
mix
them.
kind of thing.
Yeah, just like not necessarily your 10 favorite songs of all time, but what are 10 songs that define key moments of your life? It might be something that holds a memory from high school, or
Oh,
something that inspired you to start this
divulge
project.
us. What did you come up with?
There you go. Okay. I what did I fuck, I've got it on my here. Let me read it out to you. I
Hmm.
have a playlist somewhere on here. It was actually inspired by a friend's podcast where they run the same sort of theme.
Right.
Where are we at? The 10. Here we go. So Jesus of Suburbia, Green
Yep.
Day was my number one.
Mm-hmm.
That was my backstory before, well, not before music, but before being in a band, was I actually grew up as a musical theater kid, and was doing musicals, and then American Idiot came out, and it was like a rock musical,
It
and
is.
so it
Well, it
was
is
this.
because there is that version.
It's exactly that, right? Yeah, yeah. And then that inspired me to start playing guitar and start a band. And yeah, Jesus of Suburbia sort of sums up that
Yep.
album for me.
Yep.
I have Walking Disaster, Sum 41.
Mm-hmm.
I went through a massive Sum 41 phase in high school. I specifically remember there was this night where all the Soundwave sideshows were on, and all of my mates were going to see Bring Me the Horizon and the Amity Affliction.
Yep.
And they were going to catch that, and it clashed with Sum 41. So I went to Sum 41 by myself. I think I was 14, and I went to the Metro by myself to watch them. So that was sort of a defining one. What else did I have on here? I've got, this is a completely rogue one, and it's funny that we sort of spoke about Imagine This, our album, before. I had Style by Taylor Swift, because that was actually when we did that album. They went do some research around pop, and
Yep.
I sort of started researching Max Martin
Oh,
and
yep.
pop songwriters, and
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Swift was huge at the time, and that sort of encapsulated this is what the perfect pop song is.
Yep.
And so I spent a lot of time sort of studying that and how that works. So that holds a really strong memory. And then, yeah, I won't go into all of these, but the other standout for me is Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears. That's sort of
Oh,
the one
that's a big one.
yeah, that's carried through. I think I always remember it being on the background of my childhood. My parents liked it. It would be on the radio, and it's just that's the feeling song for me, right? That song comes in, you hear that guitar lick at the beginning, and
Yep.
you just can't not feel
And the weird
every single
timing
time.
of it too, because it's
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah. You never know when the
yeah.
boom is gonna hit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're like, where's it coming? It's yeah. No, but I think that song is my number one played song on Spotify every single year. It's always on loop. It's just so good.
It's a brilliant song. I mean, Tears for Fears. They were along with Hall and Oates were
Yes.
amazing songwriters in their
Yeah.
own right, and I don't
Yeah.
think Tears for Fears actually get enough credit for what they did.
Yeah. 100%. Well, even what people would probably argue that Mad was their biggest song, and it wasn't even their version of it that,
No, there
that
was a
blew
Donnie
up,
Darko. It
right?
was
It's
yeah.
behind the
There's
scenes, not
yeah.
credit. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I
No,
agree with that.
yeah. I went through a big 80s music phase. I don't know if you can see this in my Zoom background. That was the other band so that's Mav from Forever Ends Here, our bass player, and the
Yep.
two of us started a band called Change. But you can see by that photo, it was very 80s Hall and Oates inspired. That was sort of
Nothing wrong with that,
vibe
man.
of it. Love it. The
Well,
shameless 80s.
I'm a big NXS fan.
Yeah, nice.
So
Nice.
like, man,
I went to high school. I went to Davidson High School, which was where INXS went.
hmm
And I went there because they claimed it was a performing arts school, and they had this giant mural of INXS on the wall.
right.
If Davidson High School ever hear this, they're gonna hunt me down and hate me for shit talking them. But they I remember walking in and being like, wow, this is the place to be. Like INXS went here. This is crazy. And then we sat down for our sort of induction assembly, and the principal got up and went, all these people come to a creative high school thinking they can make it in a creative industry. You can't. It's a dead end road. You need a real job. And basically just gave the most depressing speech
Brutal.
about don't follow your dreams. Your dreams are going to fail. Start accounting, be in business, and that's how to succeed in
Oh,
life. And it was just the most like miserable experience. So I always, every time I think of In Excess now, I just think of that.
Wow, I just unlocked a shit memory for you. Sorry. So
I mean, it's funny in hindsight, right? I always just laughed at it. I'm like, they're claiming all of In Excess's success and going, look, they weren't here.
yeah.
And the moment that happened, I was like, there's no way they had anything to do with that. I was like, In Excess would have fucking hated it here.
Man, Kevin Rudd went to my high school, so that's.
Oh, there you go.
And I got taught by the drummer from Powderfinger's dad.
Oh, I see.
He was a science
That's cool.
teacher. Yeah.
Funny.
That's just random shit for you. So
I love that random facts.
So with your musical theatre, like, because I actually, believe it or not, I didn't do musical theatre, but my dad actually was massive into musical theatre. Like, he used to perform, and he played the King in The King and I. He did Brigadoon. He did
Cool.
he did all those the Pirates Penzance. He did the Pirate King and that sort of stuff. So even though I was not in it, I always went to them.
Yeah.
So I actually have an understanding of an appreciation of musical theatre. But what got you involved in that?
I just from a young age, I just loved performing. I was the cliche kid that would come out with a broomstick and pretend it was a mic stand and perform for my parents when I was like 5. So I think it was probably them going, wow, he needs a creative outlet. Like, what can we put him in? So I got put into a theatre company when I was young. I was always the child lead in the musicals. Okay. I was Chip in Beauty and the Beast, the Chip teacup.
Yep.
We had this little 3D cup costume. I was the mayor of Munchkinland in Wizard of Oz.
That's
in hindsight,
that's harsh.
It's so good. I had a little fat suit on, and I had to put on a little fake mustache and the voice.
Oh no.
No, but then, I was young. I think I stopped doing musical theatre when I was maybe 12, 13, when I sort of transitioned into playing in bands instead. But I still love it. I went to New York a few years ago, and my mates were all over there at the time going to WrestleMania, and I tapped out of spending $700 on WrestleMania for the night, and I went into Broadway every night and just went to the tickets booth and said, "What do you got?" And I think I went to 7 musicals on Broadway when I was there, and it was, honestly, it was the coolest experience.
By the way, if you saw the door opening behind me, it was just my cat going to the toilet.
Cat? I've got a cat as well, and every single time she's like, "Now was the time that I'm going to jump up on the desk and man cuddles."
Normally he's upstairs, but tonight he wants to be down here. But yeah, he's just doing his toilet break, so don't mind him.
He's shy. We'll have to blur out the background then.
Yeah, as long as you can't see the toilet, it's all good. We nearly hit that 30-minute mark. Is there anything you want to go through? Because we just sort of went really sort of
we've been on tangents, right?
Yeah,
like that's
what we do, man.
I was just talking. We're like, let's chat about Cherry Chapstick and the tour, and we're like, so musical theatre.
Musical theatre. Well, that's what I like, man. Like, because you get used to doing. Like, I never do interviews at just like stock standard. It's boring as shit. And that's why, I agree. Like I said, it's like chatting in a green room. Like, you're having a beer or whatever, and you're just basically finding out about the other artists that you'd never seen before.
Becomes more personal, right? You learn more about a backstory and what makes you tick and why you do what you do.
I do have a question for you though. Did you do a few shows with Simple Plan themselves?
We did. That was the biggest full circle crazy moment for us. We did a whole Australian tour with them in 2016.
Yep.
So the first album I ever bought on CD was No Pads, No Helmets, Just Balls. And when I was 11, I queued up with my brother, who's the drummer of our band, and a best friend of ours. We queued up for, I want to say, 8 hours to see Simple Plan at the Horden. And we were in the front row of the mosh pit, which in hindsight, as an 11-year-old, is fucking ridiculous.
That's insane.
But Pierre came down from the stage that night and put his arm around me and sung "I'm Just a Kid," because he's obviously got, he's a kid in the front row of our show. And anyway, we toured together in 2016, and you always have that moment of like, do you meet your heroes? What are they going to be like? But we got there. The first show of the tour was Enmore Theatre in Sydney, and we were already out of our depth in this giant backstage room, going, holy shit, it had imposter syndrome, right?
Yep.
And we're going, I wonder when we'll beat them, what are they like? And they walked into our dressing room with a bottle of vodka and handed it to us and said, welcome to the tour. And we sat down and chatted for about half an hour, and they were the nicest dudes on earth. I turned 20 on that tour in Melbourne, and they pulled me up on stage, and we did shots on stage, and um, yeah, we honestly we became great friends for the tour, and we caught up with them when they were here the next time in Australia as well. So yeah, that was definitely a do meet your heroes moment.
Yeah.
I think I went backstage after that and cried happy tears because that was just the full like, wow, we're doing this with the people that made us start it moment. So yeah,
See,
that was very, very cool.
you didn't make your dick of yourself. Whereas when I met one of my heroes, I totally fanboyed. I don't fanboy, but
Who was it?
uh,
Still the bean.
it was Jeff Martin from the Tea Party.
Okay.
So I'm a massive Tea
Yeah.
Party fan, and the Tea Party's
Yeah.
albums, Edges of Twilight and Splendor Solace and Transmission, they had a massive impact on me in the
Yeah.
90s growing up. And Jeff Martin actually lives between here and Canada.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
And he happened to be playing a solo show at the local venue, and I decided to go check it out. And criminally, there was only 60 people there watching him play. And
Wow.
yeah, and after his set, which was just mind blowing, he came down and
Yeah.
just met everyone, and
Yeah.
like person by person, he would go and sit and greet people, and I basically hugged him. And I said, thank you
Yeah.
for the music. And I went, I'm going to hug you again. And then just fucking lost it. And one of my mates was there. And he just went, yeah, you totally fanboyed. And I went, oh my God, I so fucking did.
That's funny. I'm usually fine with it. It's funny. It depends on the context that you meet someone, and that
Exactly.
like with Simple Plan, I was freaking out on the inside, but on the outside, I was like, hey, we're on this tour together, right?
Make
I'm
most of it.
backstage at their show, but they're also playing it. Like it's the my one full fanboy moment was when Green Day were here for Soundwave one year, and the
Mm.
night before Soundwave, they posted, "Hey Sydney, first 100 people to the Captain Cook Hotel free show,"
Oh,
and went to the Captain Cook Hotel, and yeah, they played for 100 people, and
oh my
it
God.
was nuts. It was absolute fucking mayhem. But when they were walking to their van afterwards, I happened to be outside the back door at the time and bumped into them and got my fanboy photo with Billy Joel,
Oh,
with Billy Joe there,
Billy
and
Joe.
that was my yeah. I was like, fuck, this is Billy Joe Armstrong in the flesh. Like this is the man that made me start playing in a band. So that was my tried to get a selfie camera. I think there's a photo of it somewhere, but it's a selfie, but the camera's like shaking.
Shaking.
It's like a blurry like maybe you can make out that that's Billy Joe, but yeah,
They
that was
played
my full
massive
camera.
sets on that Soundwave tour too, because they played for nearly like 3 hours. Because
It was nuts.
I went to that Soundwave.
Yeah, the wild thing about it, they played for that long at Soundwave, and they didn't double up on many of the songs that they did at that Captain Cook Hotel show. My favorite, well, one of my favorite Green Day songs is "Let It Bomb,"
Yep.
and they to my knowledge, they don't play it in the set anymore, and they weren't playing it in the set at the time either. It was sort of a deep cut that it was like, I'll probably never hear that live. And they opened with it at Captain Cook Hotel,
You
and
would have
that was
lost
my
your
sort of.
shit.
I was like, holy shit! I was like, I'm in a room with 100 people watching Green Day play "Let It Bomb." What the fuck is happening?
That's a moment.
Um, that was a moment for sure.
Fuck yeah. All right, Luke, let's wrap this up. So Cherry Chapstick's out. You guys are going to be kicking right into tour from this weekend. So give me the dates again.
Sydney on Friday night, which is the 7th of July,
Yep.
the 8th of July, the following night in Melbourne, and then the following weekend, the 14th in Brisbane.
At the Bright Side. So you be in the pit.
The Bright Side.
Yeah, have you been to Bright Side before? Have you ever
Been in
been?
the pit. We've played the Bright Side many times.
Yeah.
It's a very nostalgic venue for
Yeah.
us. We've played Oxford Art Factory. We've played the Bright Side. We haven't played at Stay Gold in Melbourne before, so that'll be a new one for us. But I've been to see a friend play there, and it's a cool venue. So
Wicked.
I'm excited. We're going to make this a big special one. We've put a lot of money into lighting and production, and it's a hour and 20-minute set. And yeah, we're excited.
Kick it in the dick, as I always say.
That's the goal. I'll let you know if that happens.
All right, man. You hang on the line there. I'll have a quick debrief. But thanks for the massive chats. And everyone else, like, if you do get the chance to see Forever Ends here on tour, do it, because it'd be worth your while. Thanks, man. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks so much for having me.
All good.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Hang on the line there. Everyone else, adios. Hope you enjoyed that chat. Luke is an absolute legend, and we had a few little bits of chats afterwards as well. And I hope you enjoyed footage on my cat. Edward decided to go to the toilet halfway through the podcast, so that's awesome. Anyway, we got some more podcasts lined up. including a very special one where we might actually change things up here. You'll have to wait for that one. Until then, thank you for supporting local music, live music, all sorts of music, and do check out Forever Ends here. You guys are legends. Cheers.